I've said it before on this channel, but I believe that hair sheep are the future of the sheep meat industry. They taste better and they convert pasture into meat better, and because of that they are healthier sheep. So in this video I'm going to be going into really kind of the details about raising hair sheep for meat. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Tons of videos about sheep, tons of videos about chickens, rabbits, gardening, really anything that has to do with better soil, better plants, or better animals. So if any of that's up your alley, consider subscribing. But today we are talking about raising hair sheep for meat, which I think has to do with the whole system. Better soil, better plants, better animals. So let's get to it. Okay, so I raised Dorper here. I got full-blood Dorper, very happy with this breed. And I only have an acre and a quarter here. So not a lot of space. If I had more space, I'd have more sheep. But for now, it's perfect. It's totally ideal. So I've got 5 ewes. Actually, one of my ewes is a cull ewe, and she goes to freezer camp in just a few days. But I've got my goal is to try out 4 ewes next year and see what kind of crop I can get. So the reason that I like hair sheep so much is that they're just incredible animals about working the land with very low input from the human. Okay, so what I mean by that is they're just really good at eating roughage, eating the grass that they're supposed to eat, and putting on weight the natural way. So when I say the natural way, I mean not grains. They're ruminants, and even more so than a cow, they can get really disrupted with grains. I mean, if you know anything about sheep, you've probably heard of bloat with sheep. Basically where they eat something that gasses them up and they can't pass it and they implode from the inside. And sheep can be really tender with that. And so when you put them on a natural forage like we have, I'm filming this early November, so it's not good pasture right now. My water's been turned off for 2 weeks now. But if you can put hair sheep on good pasture, they can produce good meat for you. Whereas wool sheep are very often finished off or sometimes raised totally on a dry lot and have a heavy staple diet of grains. And hair sheep don't really need that. I will admit that if I am able to do it, I will feed them rolled oats for the last maybe week of their life, and it's not free choice. It's maybe a cup a day per sheep just to kind of sweeten it up. So my point with that is wool sheep, a lot of them, in order to get them to a marketable weight, are fed stuff that they shouldn't be eating. And a marketable weight, in under a year. Hair sheep don't need that. They can reach a very desirable weight without a staple diet of grain. Again, I'll feed them, the last week of their life, maybe just like half a cup a day per sheep of rolled oats. So I'm not talking about heavier grains like corn or things like that. So if my pasture needs a break, like it very soon will need a break, I put them on an alfalfa, just dried alfalfa hay. If I can find a mix of alfalfa and a grass like Timothy, I'll do it, but that's a little bit harder to find for me. Maybe I just don't know where to look, at least not for a price that I'm willing to pay. And so getting these sheep what they need with alfalfa hay really, really helps me accomplish what I'm trying to do, in the winter and unideal months. Or when my paddocks, and I've got 2, I've got one right here, I've got one right here, they're pretty much equal size. When my paddocks need a break, I can supplement with alfalfa hay, and I occasionally do that throughout the year. My goal is to each year reseed and let their ruminant superpower do their job, which is letting their probiotic poops leach into the ground, give the soil what it needs. So anyway, really great. But if my pasture needs a break or the season calls for it, I feed them alfalfa, and my 6-month lambs give me 55 to 60 pound hanging weights, and I'm really happy with that. And they're hair sheep, so they don't have that greasy, that gaminess to it. Just a quick note on that. I actually had my parents over for dinner the other day, and they had, I mean, they both have had lamb before, and their experience was like kind of like what everyone else's is like, oh, you know, the gaminess and the greasiness, and I'm just not super into that. And I just said, like, look, let me just get you a steak. Let me get you a good lamb steak and a lamb chop. And they ate it, and they didn't complain. And they just taste different. It's definitely like closer to beef, closer to elk. Really, really, it's overused, but succulent is a word that I think is very accurate for hair sheep, especially Dorper. Okay, another great reason for hair sheep, in the case for hair sheep being, you know, the future of the meat industry for sheep, is that they are amazing mothers. And so any of you shepherds on here know how much input is required of you during the lambing season. And if you could just have better moms, you'd probably have an easier time with lambing season, right? And so these Dorper and hair sheep in general, seem to just be great at lambing and really heavy milkers. Although they're not awesome dairy sheep, they're kind of more of a meat sheep. They definitely give a really good fatty milk. I mean, these lambs bulk up so quickly. Another nice thing about that is the lambs themselves don't need as much attention from you, which is nice. Like, I've never had to worm them. I should have sheared them in the summer. That was something that I wish I would have done more of, just because it makes them a little bit more comfortable. But other than that, really low input animals, great meat animals. So in short, whether you're a homesteader or a commercial producer, I really think hair sheep are the future of the meat industry. At least when it comes to, you know, lamb in the meat industry, lamb's part in the meat industry, I should say. The only thing is, there's no shortcuts. You can't just grain feed them. Or at least, I don't think you should just grain feed them. You need to give them the room to grow on a pasture, which I believe, you know, ruminants on pasture is one of the saving grace that our big agricultural system needs right now. Maybe I'll do another video on that later. But, you know, from my vantage point, really seems like hair sheep are a route that most any, like I said, homesteader or commercial grower should be exploring. So hey, that's what I got for you guys today. I've got plenty of videos about the hair sheep on my channel, so subscribe. I'm always doing more. I'm always talking about regenerative farming practices. Like the video if you liked it. And that's all I got. I plan on seeing you guys on the next one. Thank you again for stopping by the High Mountain Homestead.